What will happen to our earth when the wheels of Ezekiel arrive? Ezekiel is a book in the Old Testament. As reported by the famous Taiwanese ufologist Scott C. Waring, who for obvious reasons has now taken refuge in U.S. state of Utah and broadcast from there, on April 13, the residents of Texas observed a strange atmospheric phenomenon in the night sky, a kind of ring-shaped portal near which a luminous sphere was rushing. Ufologists' news these days is so very strange but common, since people have seen much worse things, but the problem is that a similar sighting had also occurred in the state of New Mexico and in the Mexican city of Saltillo. There was also a report of a similar object appearing over San Antonio, Texas. All three of these areas border each other, Texas, Mexico, New Mexico, so people may have seen the same strange phenomenon. The problem is that San Antonio and the Mexican city of Saltillo are located to the east, and New Mexico is 1,000 kilometers to the west. A distance of 1,000 kilometers, so we're talking about different vehicles. One of them was also flying over Oklahoma. At the same time, the phenomenon of falling meteorites continues and continues. The Mexicans, of course, were told that these were Elon Musk satellites. But is that so? If that's so, then whose satellites was over Canada? And the next day, something flew over Mexico again. And the day before, something flew over Florida again. But the most entertaining was in New Jersey, where a meteorite broke the roof of a car repair shop and caused chaos. Now, according to Elon Musk satellites, Japan is on the front line, but the most unusual satellite of Elon Musk was observed over California in late March. There were real Ezekiel wheels there, only so far some of the ones that arrived were not so big. So intelligent aliens so far continue to please everyone with wonderful atmospheric effects and phenomena, and so far the appearances seem peaceful. And ufologists also have something to occupy themselves with and discuss. However, the story of the New Jersey car repair shop raises some concerns and fears. Elon Musk's satellites seem to have started to fall in large numbers. Their fragments are already literally raining down on our heads. But what will happen when a competing company arriving from distant stars starts shooting down Elon's flying devices in full scale and dynamically? How much debris and trash will start falling on our heads then? And most importantly, what will happen when something flies out of orbit? As we know from science fiction movies, large spacecraft have large power plants that constantly provide them with the energy they need for such a long space journey. We don't know, of course, how these powerful plants work, but we assume that there are large reservoirs of energy in the holds in the form of antimatter or something similar. Therefore, when a flying device the size of a fighter jet is shot down, it simply burns up in the atmosphere. But they can also shoot down a spacecraft that has a power plant that is equivalent to many times the amount of energy released in Hiroshima. And when such big things start falling on the heads of people of Earth, then the most interesting part of this show will begin, which has already begun, so let's follow the developments. With the wheels of the prophet Ezekiel according to the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel's vision of the four wheels dramatically depicts the omnipresence and omniscience of God. These wheels were associated with the four living creatures, Ezekiel 1:4. Which Ezekiel later described, 10:5 and 20, as cherubim, angelic beings who are appointed as guardians of God's holiness. Each wheel was actually two in one, with one wheel apparently placed inside the other at right angles, which allowed the living angelic creatures to move in any direction instantly without having to turn as lightning moves. These wheels had the appearance of chrysolite, which may have been topaz or another semi-precious stone. The outer rim of the wheels was described as high and awesome, with the outer edge of the wheel to be full of eyes, Ezekiel 1:14-18. The spirit of these living angelic creatures was in the wheels, Ezekiel 1:20-21. As a result, the creatures were able to move in any direction the wheels moved. Most biblical scholars support the view that the Spirit of God gives direction to the wheels through the direct knowledge and access to God's will. The mobility of the wheels indicates God's omnipresence. Their eyes indicate his omniscience, and their elevated position his omnipotence. This vision appeared to Ezekiel as a powerful depiction of movement and action that demonstrate the characteristics of God's divine nature. It presented God as sitting on a chariot-like throne, with his glory marvelous and inherent, existing and extending throughout the universe of his creation. Therefore, the entire revelation from God in this vision to Ezekiel, namely the cherubim, the chariot, the spirit, and the wheels, emphasized the unity and coordination of all these. As terrifying as the vision was, it displays the majesty and glory of God, Ezekiel 1:28, who visited the prophet Ezekiel and the children of Israel, who were in the midst of their exile in Babylon. It reminds them of his holiness and power as the Lord of all creation, of the universe. The message was clear. Although his people were in exile and his nation was about to be destroyed, God was still on the throne and was able to handle any situation. The lesson for us today is that, through his wonderful providence, God is interested in and intervenes in the affairs of people and nations to bring about his own invisible and unknown to us plan, his salvation plan, which he has put into effect, which, although complex and incomprehensible to us, yet in every case works together for good. Romans 8:28. And the translator comment says, the question, however, is whether this wheel seen in the video is indeed one of Ezekiel's wheels, as the columnist claims, or is it something else we do not know where it comes from, which is out to deceive us? My answer is that I do not know. Time will tell, as these phenomena are increasingly intensifying, keeping pace with dramatic events on the planet, and we are only seeing a part of this. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.